Welcome back, everyone. It's time again for Rides and Drives Team Radio. I'm Harvey, and I'm here with Kaz. And we were going to talk about the 2025 season, the second half. But we got big news today, Kaz. What happened?
Well, we sure did. Sitting on the couch at 10 a.m., I got an email from IndyCar announcing the 2026 schedule. And I've been waiting for this for quite some time. I know you have too. I had some things I was hoping for. So before we get into the schedule itself, let's just talk a little bit about what our wishes were
Sure.
and whether or not we're going to see them. Is there anything specific you wanted?
Well, I mean, and we knew this wasn't going to happen because they announced it last week. We wanted
Hmm.
Mexico. I
Yeah.
wanted an international race. I would love to see Indy go back to Watkins Glen, put another classic road course on the schedule.
Hmm.
And I was really, really, really hoping to see Thermal come off the schedule. So those were kind of my wishes going into it. Otherwise, I think overall the venues that they had this past year were pretty good. So I didn't have a lot of problems. What about you?
Well, you and I had something in common. I also wanted thermal removed from the schedule. We've talked about it before. We don't need to belabor the point
Right.
significantly, but from a pure racing perspective, from a TV viewership perspective, and then just also like it felt so exclusive
Yeah.
that it became hard to access. Thermal was just not my track. So I'm really I was crossing my fingers that thermal wouldn't be back on the calendar. And then outside of that, one thing I wanted that I knew wasn't going to happen because they had already announced the date of St. Petersburg, and we know that the season ends before NFL season starts. I was kind of hoping for more races. Like, can we do 18, 19? Is it possible? I knew that wasn't going to happen, so I wasn't holding out hope. I really definitely wanted to see those two Wisconsin races remain on the calendar. We knew we would have Milwaukee, but Road America was a toss up, and it's such a great track and such a cool experience. And then for me, I also had a classic American track that I was hoping to see, and that was Coda,
A
Circuit of the
modern
Americas.
classic.
Well, I mean, I'm younger than you, man. What are we going to do? We have different perspectives about what classic means. I've been to music festivals at Watkins Glen, by the way, and it's a really cool space. So while I've never seen a race there, I'm with you that that would be great. But for me, it was Coda.
I saw a race there way back in 1971. So
Oh, wow. What race did you see?
I saw the Trans Am series. So Mustangs, Camaros, Firebirds, Mark Donahue driving his Javelin. That was, yeah, back in the day. That's when I fell in love with racing because my dad owned this race car.
What is that
And
there?
this is a Trans Am Mustang from the 1971 season. It was the Troy Promotions livery, driven by Tony DiLorenzo. And I was a 11-year-old kid hanging out in the paddock and got to sit in the race car and put on the driver's helmet, and the
My
race bug
God.
has been with me ever since. So
Yeah,
yeah,
try and make a kid not a racing fan
yeah,
by that by
one
doing
of
that
the
kind of thing.
tracks that I got to go to that summer was Watkins Glen. So
Great.
that was awesome. But yeah, so we didn't get Coda, we didn't get Watkins Glen, but we did get two new venues on the calendar this year, and
Hmm.
two venues dropped off, right? So
Two venues dropped, three races dropped,
right.
and one undergoing really significant redesigns.
Yeah, I mean, let's not beat around the bush, but we can talk about those highlights. I think would be important. First, losing Thermal. Yay!
Yay!
We're
We're
all
so
happy about
happy.
that.
It's my
Um,
little happy dance.
yeah, it's just not a great track. We don't need to belabor it like we talked about. So yay, that's gone. Iowa is gone. And that's not too big a surprise because even though the racing was good,
Hmm.
attendance was terrible. Over the 2 days of the race weekend, they had two races there this past year. There were 12,000 fans
Oh,
total, not at
oh,
each race, total between the two races. And that just
oh.
doesn't cut it. So,
No.
and you know, to put it in perspective, they raced NASCAR there this summer and they sold the place out. So that's a NASCAR track.
Yeah, look, I'm not celebrating the loss of Iowa the way I am the loss of Thermal. You're right, the races were great, but there are certain things I look for in different types of racing.
Hmm.
And frankly, on an oval, the location of the race, barring the Indy 500, is less important to me than what the track brings. There are other ovals in this country, one of which we're going to discuss, that
Yep.
kind of bring the same sort of thing that Iowa does that just don't happen to be in Iowa. The Midwest has a lot of representation on this calendar. I I'm bummed for the locals that they don't have that easy race to go to anymore, but I don't think it's a huge tick against the season. And I'm not really like, I'm not crying that Iowa's not on the schedule by
No,
any means.
I agree with you. I think the track that's replacing it, Phoenix, is a classic oval. Open wheel racing's been going on there since 1964. AJ Foyt won the first open wheel race held at Phoenix. Mario Andretti won his last race at Phoenix. So
Oh, did
there's a
he?
lot of history there. And yeah, Indy cars, whether it's Champ Car, all that, whatever it was called at the time, Indy cars have been racing there since 64. They raced twice a year up until the mid 80s at that
Oh,
track,
wow.
once in the spring, once in the fall. And I think it was 2018 was the last IndyCar race there. So,
2018 was the last IndyCar race there, and the last winner was Joseph Newgarden,
right. Yeah, and
our
that
oval boy.
That was a pretty exciting finish. It came down to a 10-lap shootout, and he decided to take new tires, went from the lead of the race back to fourth, and passed three cars in 10 laps to win the race.
Oh,
So
man.
there's potential for excitement in Phoenix, which is great. Let's put exciting tracks back on the schedule.
Hmm.
Let's put it in Phoenix is a big market. That's a big TV market. So that's great. The interesting thing about that weekend is they're doing NASCAR racing that same weekend. So
Oh,
IndyCar is racing Saturday at Phoenix. NASCAR is racing Sunday at Phoenix. And
well, that's fun.
it's fun, but it's also weird. Does it make IndyCar seem like the warm-up race? I, and I get it. They're trying to, maybe do the crossover, bring fans from NASCAR over to IndyCar and vice versa. Um, but that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
That's interesting to think about. And I have two responses, I guess. I don't know. Um, First and foremost, I'm just thinking the perspective of a local racing fan. How cool is that you have the
Yeah,
opportunity to go see two different series that race so differently on the same track in the same weekend? I would love that. If I lived in Phoenix, I would definitely be at both. And I'm not a NASCAR fan,
right.
but that's just a really cool notion. In terms of, I'm going to say something maybe a little controversial. In terms of fandom in the United States, maybe right now IndyCar is the opener.
No, it,
And
I mean,
that's
we know that NASCAR draws bigger audiences. They sell more tickets. They get better ratings on TV. But
look, Sabrina Carpenter opened for Taylor Swift at the Eras tour.
mhm,
And now she's everywhere. She just won album of the year. So maybe IndyCar can benefit from this as long as it's like a quick little drop and not a habit that we get into. You're right.
sure,
I don't want to feel like IndyCar is the warm-up act by any means, but if you're on the up, I don't think there's anything wrong with opening for something that's a little bit bigger than you are.
right,
I don't see a huge problem there as long as it doesn't become a trend.
right. Yeah, I no, I think it'll be good. Like you said, let's not make a habit of it.
Mhm.
So Phoenix will be great. That's a great proven oval, great racing in the past. That's good. Now we have two new tracks to talk about though, and they're both street courses. So
Yeah.
this should be interesting. In Arlington, Texas, a Dallas suburb, they've created a street course around the um, sports complex there where the Cowboys and the Rangers play.
We
So
call it the Jerry Dome. I don't know what it's
the
actually called.
Jerry World
In
AT&T
my house,
Dome,
we
I
call
think.
it the Jerry Dome. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And so they're going to be racing on a course built around that. And some pretty interesting features on that track. One, it's going to have the longest straightaway of any track on the circuit this year. It's a mile long front straight on this, which is, to put it in perspective, Road America's front straight is 4,400 feet. This
Hmm.
is 5,280 feet. So that's
Hmm.
quite a bit
It's another
longer.
quarter again as
Yeah.
long. Yeah, that's
So
on a street race. That's so interesting. You pointed something out to me earlier today, and you're very correct. On a street race, you're looking for a lot of downforce. That's not really conducive to opening it up on a mile long open straight. But something that I think about when considering this race is I want to go to two different Formula One tracks.
right.
First of all, we're looking at Miami, obviously centered around a big sports complex running
Yeah,
around the city,
it's
but
funny.
also Vegas.
They created a video online on the IndyCar site of
Mhm.
kind of a AI version of what the track will look like driving around the track. And
Yeah.
it definitely feels like they're trying to replicate the Miami experience.
Sure. Well, and that's track experience and what it feels like to be there and what it feels like to watch it. But when I think I'm thinking about a long straight on a street course, and I know that leading into the first Las Vegas Grand Prix, there was a lot of scrutiny about what that track would look like. And it actually, that long straight in the Vegas Grand Prix has given us some pretty cool Formula One moments,
Sure.
some really excellent passes in a series that isn't always known for great wheel to wheel action. So I do kind of wonder if looking at that, maybe they were thinking about Vegas and how that worked out. And even the drivers themselves after that first race, I remember saying, like, oh, guys, this was a much cooler track than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
And I'm kind of hopeful about that.
I think that race produced a lot more passing than most of the other races. So it'll be interesting to see what Dallas does. There's some other interesting
Mhm.
features of that track. It's a short run from the start finish into a chicane. So that'll be
Mhm.
interesting to
Oh, that's
see how
fun.
tight that is. And then they have like a horseshoe in one part of the track that'll be a big long carousel. So that could be interesting if they can get a couple of lines and maybe some passing there as well. So I on paper it looks like a good track. We'll see what it does when cars get on it and start racing wheel to wheel.
So something that I'm always looking for in a street race is a good representation. And this is only street races that this matters for me so much, but I want a good representation of the city. I don't know Dallas very well. I've stopped in one time. How do you feel about how that track
This
represents Dallas and Texas as a
this
whole?
doesn't represent Dallas. It represents
Okay.
Arlington.
Okay.
Arlington is it's a north suburb of Dallas, but it kind of feels like its own place. And the sports complex is in its own little world there. I've been there. I actually stayed there a couple of years ago. Haven't been to a game there or anything, but I stayed at a hotel on the property there. And it's Texas suburban sprawl with
Okay.
two huge stadiums in the middle, and they're going to make those a feature. And I'm sure they're going to deck it all out and make it look great. Probably have a rodeo somewhere in there. Miami has the marina, on
Hmm.
their track. Who knows what they're going to do to make it Texas? But
Sure.
Arlington, it's a suburb
Okay.
could be, it could be anywhere in the country, but you have those two iconic stadiums that they're going to build the track around. The track itself looks interesting. It's not a Dallas Grand Prix. It's race in Arlington.
Okay. The suburb Grand Prix.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's all right.
And which leads us into Toronto now, because they moved the street course from downtown Toronto, about 36 miles, I think, or something, northwest of town, to a suburb called Markham. And that's going to be a new track this year. And it'll be interesting to see what that brings to the table. Apparently, the big reason for the move was they had pretty much maxed out capacity at the old course and they couldn't put more fans in there. And so they
Okay.
wanted to create a new space that made it easier for fans to come in and out and where more people could come watch the race, which is great to have that as a problem because not all the venues on the calendar have that issue where they
That's
need
a
more
that's
space
a
for more people.
that's a great reason to move a street race. I'm happy about that. Ontario, Toronto, Markham in particular. I've never these are places I've never visited. Again, same question. What can you tell me about where the trek is and what we can expect to see about that place?
Not a whole lot. I
Okay.
haven't done a ton of research on it. I've been to Toronto once in my life and I have not been to Markham. So I'm looking forward to going across the Blue Water Bridge, driving over that way and seeing what Markham has to offer and seeing what kind of racing we get out of that track.
I'm always excited when there's something we can learn together.
There you
So this is
go.
going to be one of those. That's great. And then finally, so we're replacing thermal with, I mean, we're replacing what with what, but let's just say we're replacing thermal with Arlington because we've got a road to a street. We're
Right.
replacing one of the Iowa ovals with Phoenix, and then the second Iowa race, the third race being dropped from the calendar, is getting replaced with something that just warms my already warm heart. We're doing a third race in Wisconsin.
Yeah, this Milwaukee becomes the double. So we've
Ah,
got a Saturday and a Sunday race in Milwaukee. They did that a couple years ago. So,
hmm
attendance has been building. Big question, will they be opening more grandstands? Can they sell more seats? And that'll be a big thing. I really think they can do it because this is really the Chicago area race now,
yeah.
right? There's no downtown, there's no course, at the Chicagoland Speedway. They're not racing out there, anything else. It is if you're from Chicago, you're going to make that 45-mile drive up to Milwaukee or whatever it is.
It's super easy to get there. And here's why I think they can continue their trend of increasing attendance. The night before the Milwaukee Mile last year, this is an anecdote, so who knows? But before the Milwaukee Mile last year, the night before, was experiencing such intense FOMO that I looked up to see how much is a ticket. Can I make it? And it's 5 hours. I just moved to Indiana. Um, they were sold out. And then they opened the second grandstand, but there was a good 12, 15 hours where there were no tickets available the night before. If they start with the knowledge that they need those grandstands open and advertise with the hopes of getting that second grandstand open, or then I think that reasonably they can continue. I don't know if they're going to sell out both races, but I think reasonably they can increase. I don't think they topped out what Milwaukee's market can do last year. Milwaukee residents are sports fans.
Yes.
If we give them a reason to be there, they're going to be. And I know they tied the marketing in with the state fair last year, which was so successful.
Yeah, State
There's,
Fair actually runs that event now. They are the
mhm.
promoter and they know how to get people there. So there'll be I think we'll just see more and more of that. So
Yeah,
that's good.
there's a lot they can do. And I'm really looking forward to seeing two races there. That was some of the best race. I mean, we were treated to a phenomenal season last year. I wouldn't call any of the races, even thermal, bad, but Milwaukee, if I had to rank them, I mean, the ranking would be different every time I went down the list, but I think you'd always see Milwaukee in my top five races from last year.
Yeah,
So,
I think it was competitive from start to finish. And that last 15 whatever stint by Rasmussen was
mhm.
unbelievable. So
and
that's great.
and I think them choosing to put the doubleheader there really does maybe speak to a little bit. about how much the drivers love driving there. I hope that when they're setting the calendar, they're taking the feedback from their drivers. I know that there's more that goes into it than that, but that has to be a part of it. And I know based on your personal conversations with them and what I heard from them in media that every driver was happy to be there.
Yeah,
So
they love driving that track. So
that's awesome.
let them drive it twice.
Love it.
So those are the changes for
Mhm.
2026. It's interesting now the balance of tracks, right? We've got
Yeah.
5 street courses,
Hmm.
6 oval races, and 6 road course races. So there's a really nice balance there, obviously. And
For for reference, last year we had 7 road courses, 6 ovals, and 4 street courses.
right.
And I zeroed in on that right away because every driver has different specialties. I taking a road course off the schedule does feel a little bit. I mean, look, Alex Palou doesn't have a weak point in his driving, but
Right.
obviously road courses are what he's the most happy and the most familiar with. So I wonder if there's a little bit of
Yeah.
an attempt to create some parity there.
It's like when they tried to tiger proof the Masters, they
You
couldn't
can't
do it
Alex proof an IndyCar
because
schedule. You just can't do it.
yeah, so we'll see. I mean, maybe the other teams will have gotten better, but taking one road course and turning it into a street race, I don't think is that big a disadvantage for
No,
Alex.
it's not. He can crush a street race just as well as he can crush a road course, just as well as he can now crush an oval. So
And
there's no, but I do like that there is, a really lovely balance. We talk a lot about how much we love that consistency matters in this series, that you can't just come out and win a couple. You need to be strong all season. And we talk about Will Power in 2022. We talk about Scott Dixon last year and all of these drivers who have put together
yeah,
incredible seasons, only
Pato.
being at the top of the podium one time. Pato had an incredible back half of his season. So I'm happy that we've created a scenario where you have to be good at everything in order to take the championship home.
Yep. Can we take 1 minute and be sad that Mexico isn't happening because it would be
Yes.
so great to see the Mexican fans embrace Pato and,
Hmm.
just help build that North American fan base even further.
Yeah.
Stupid World Cup.
I'm no soccer fan. I like all the sports. I do all the sports, but just not that one. And I yet another thing it's taking away from me. Yeah, I love a hometown race for everybody. I'm pretty much always rooting for the home driver throughout any motorsport series.
Well, and
So getting to see Pato do.
there would be great. And, Mexican fans embrace Mexican drivers. All
Mhm.
you have to do is look at Checo Perez.
Yeah,
60% of Red Bull's merch sales when he was driving for the team
yeah,
came from
Checo.
Mexico.
And
Came
and that is
from Mexico.
insane because they have Max Verstappen as his teammate.
Yeah.
People want to buy Checo merch from Mexico because they love their drivers. Pato would
Right.
get so much love from this race. And
And
and hometown fans who are putting that kind of money into supporting their driver deserve the fan service of having that race at home.
well, and the other thing about it, and this is why I'm sure we will see a race there in
Mhm.
2027. When IndyCar went back there, I think it was 2013. I can't remember what year they started. They have sold out, not IndyCar, sorry, when Formula One went back there, and I think it was
Mhm.
2013. I can't remember when. They've sold out every race since then.
Yeah.
So, they love their open wheel racing. They have a driver to root for.
Mhm.
It would be, bring millions of people to the TV broadcast as well as all those people to to the venue. So, and hopefully they'd continue to watch the races throughout the year then.
And you and I have talked a lot about wanting IndyCar to expand further beyond what it's already doing, which is great. Anything that opens it up to new people who might not otherwise be watching. So, maybe there are fans in Mexico who know of Pato but haven't really watched because he doesn't come near them.
Right.
And this would be a really great way to continue that expansion. So yes, I look, it's unfortunate. I do think they wanted to do it and it just
Yeah.
wasn't going to work.
No,
I'm
they,
glad they let us know before they dropped the schedule
yeah, I think
so that
that was
it
smart.
wasn't the yeah.
There wasn't like the, oh my God, why isn't there a race in Mexico? And they, you know, was it really the, FIFA World Cup that kept them from getting there, or were there other who knows? Maybe it was a convenient excuse. I don't know. The interesting thing is they talk about the Nashville race, which will be a night race this year. And the
Mhm.
reason it's a night race is because they're going to use the World Cup final as the lead in to the race, the broadcast of the World Cup final. So you're going to have a global audience leading into the IndyCar race at Nashville.
That's great. I hate it. I don't know. No, you're right. That is awesome. There are going to be a lot of sports fans who are glued to their TVs. It goes
Yeah,
right into it. Nashville's a great race.
yeah,
It's hard to consider a better introductory track for a full audience of people who have may never watched an IndyCar race before. But it had to be soccer, didn't it?
well, there
Just
you go.
had to be soccer.
So let's talk about any other highlights on the schedule for you, and then we can wrap this up.
Yeah, I do. I do want to do a little complaint that has absolutely nothing to do with IndyCar. They did nothing wrong. FIA, you're putting another North America race on the same day as the Indy 500? Are
Oh,
you
that is,
kidding me?
yeah, not only same day, but same time.
So there's a Reddit rumor going around that the Toronto Formula One race is going to be pushed a few hours. Like we've never seen a rain delay at the Indy 500.
Right. Yeah.
May in the Midwest is a rainy time. That whole day should have been cleared.
Right. Well, I mean, why are they messing with Monaco? It was always Monaco in the morning and Indy in the afternoon. What's wrong
I
with that?
I can understand why the FIA might not want to draw comparisons between because look, again, I'm on Reddit all the time.
Yeah.
IndyCar very rarely makes Formula One Reddit spaces, but the Monaco Indy 500 day, there are always memes about how much better the 500 was than
Oh,
the
yeah.
Monaco Grand Prix. The Monaco Grand Prix is a boring race. We all know that. It's
Right.
beautiful. It's iconic. It's
The cars are too
ridiculously
big for the
excessive.
track, and the
It's
cars are too
yeah.
big for that track. You
It's
can't pass. It's
it's not a
terrible.
good race. It's not a good race. We all know that. I do understand why the FIA might be like, look, let's like not invite the comparison between this thing that we call our crown jewel that's boring and this thing that somebody else calls their crown jewel that is the most exciting hours of television I've watched in years. I get it. Um, but there are there are six Formula One races on the time zone in that calendar. Four of them always happen after the summer break. So really, we only had two that
Right.
they needed to not. You're telling me you're scheduling a motorsport event in North America in May and you don't know when the 500 is?
Yeah.
There's no way this was an accident.
No, they did that on purpose. They saw Indy get that big deal from Fox, right? They see the momentum that's happening with the ratings, and they're like, "Ooh, we don't want to lose our North American audience.
The
Let's."
crazy thing is they should be working together.
They should,
They
but
should be working together.
egos never, no one's backing down in both of those series.
It's a
So,
shame. It's a shame. What it means for me and for probably most people listening to this is that I'm going to watch the Formula One race on delay. Not a big deal,
right,
but it's just frustrating that it's a dumb scheduling decision that I don't support, and I'm mad at the FIA about.
sure. Here's one other thing about the schedule is
Hmm.
where it ends this year.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a great season-ending race in Nashville, and we love that track, and we're excited to see it remain on the calendar. But
Hmm.
they moved the Laguna Seca race to the last race of the season on September 6th, which iconic course, great racing. We get to watch people dive into the corkscrew as they aim for the trees.
Aim for
It
those trees.
it's going to be, and hopefully there'll be a title on the line and make it
Yeah.
even more exciting.
It's I find Laguna Seca to be one of the most beautiful tracks to watch a race on television at the very least. I've never been there on race day in person, but man, I love watching cars go around that track. I just think it's stunning.
Yeah,
And the racing quality last year was so high. The corkscrew is so cool.
yeah,
We saw so many great passes there last year, but also if you go through YouTube and look at these iconic overtakes at that exact spot, this track has been feeding us for decades. I think it deserves, if you're looking at opening a season and closing a season, that
yeah,
track deserves that spot.
yeah.
That's good.
I agree with you. I think it's a great track. I've watched racing there. I've driven on the track.
Mhm.
It's everything you want a road course to be. And it's in one of the most beautiful parts of the country, Monterey. We'll do a whole story on that when we start going over each of the tracks individually and why you'd want to go in addition to the great racing. So,
Mhm.
a really great place to end the season. And I think overall the season reads great. The only other thing I wish would happen is they'd redesign the Detroit track, but we'll talk about that more when we do again the break that down during the season.
I was going to say, and again, we don't need to get into it really seriously right now, but Detroit is it's the race that follows the 500.
Right.
You've got a new audience. I know we've said it before and we're going to go into it greater detail later, but I really really hope that they take a hard look at that track because you have a captive audience of people who, I mean, try and tell me there's nobody who watched the 500 for the first time and then thought like maybe I should try this next week. I'm 100%
Right.
sure that that is an opportunity for IndyCar to pick up new fans by making that race more dynamic and exciting.
Yeah.
And
Give them
and
a
it's
great
always
product.
going to be on the calendar because it's the Chevrolet race. So make it better.
Yeah.
Detroit is a great city. Um, so the last thing I just want to do before we sign off is I want to, we talked about the balance of ovals, streets, roads, but we haven't talked about the ordering.
Oh yeah.
And I really feel strongly that this is a big improvement from last year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they've balanced it out better.
Hmm.
So, we've got street, road, oval, street, oval, road. You're not getting too much of anything in a row there.
The only occurrence of the same track type, no, sorry, there are two.
Two.
There are two occurrences of the same track type, two races in a row. One of them's the Milwaukee doubleheader.
Right.
Obviously, we're getting two ovals in a row. And then Road America to Mid Ohio that's totally fine.
Yeah,
These are
and you have a
two
week break
very
in between.
different classic tracks. Yeah.
Right. So,
Last year, we saw a couple of instances, two roads, two ovals, two roads, two ovals.
right.
I like that there's a little bit more mixing it up in there. I also think that this is likely a reaction to Pelot's runaway last year.
Yeah.
Um,
Try and
the
move
the
some ovals earlier in the season, maybe get a couple other people on the podium.
just space it out a little better.
Yeah.
Even if the point differential winds up the same at the end of the season, space it out so that after 8 races, you're not like, oh, this guy won.
Right. Right.
And
Well,
and again, it's Alex, so that's entirely possible that it'll happen again. But
it's Alex and Ganassi. So yeah,
yeah.
we'll see. We'll see how it starts to break down. But we saw some teams come on at the end and it wasn't just ovals that brought them forward.
Oh,
So,
definitely. Yeah.
I mean, Will had a great race in Portland and he's going to be driving with extra incentive next year. So we should
I'm so
see
I'm
the
so excited.
best of Will Power next year.
I'm very excited. Last time Will Power drove with a ninth place finish, chip on his shoulder. He won the championship. So
Yeah.
who knows, but I'm looking for real big things from him.
All
All
right.
right. So before we sign off, I just want to go ahead and list the schedule. We don't have sponsors here, you guys, because they're not released for all of them yet. So I actually prefer it. I can just tell you the race locations. We're starting the season off in St. Petersburg, then moving to that new Phoenix Oval, short oval, high banking. Really excited. The street race in Arlington follows that. Then we're heading down to Barber, Long Beach, the Indy Road Course, and that'll be followed up by the 110th Indy 500. Uh, the second half of I'm calling it the second half, even though it's probably not. We start with Detroit. Then we've got St. Louis, Road America, Mid Ohio, Nashville, Portland, Ontario, two races in Milwaukee, and finishing the season off at Monterey with Laguna Seca. And I'm not
Feels
mad about that one bit.
No, feels like a great season, really well
Yeah.
balanced, nice travel, between cities, and it makes a ton of sense. So kudos to the guys at IndyCar for putting together a great schedule. I know they had a lot to deal with in trying to
Mhm.
schedule Mexico, but given all of that, this looks like a really, really good schedule and something I'm looking forward to spending time going to a bunch of these venues next year.
Oh God, I can't wait. Starting with St. Pete.
There we go. Let's go racing. So we've still got to get through silly season now and a few other things, but I'm looking forward to not talking about racing, but actually watching it. So
Yeah, 165 days away.
wow,
I think
you
we can
not
manage
not
that.
that not that you are counting or anything.
I don't have a calendar on my wall where I'm taking days off or anything like that. That would be crazy. Who would do that kind of thing?
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for this special episode of Rides and Drives Team Radio. Kaz, thanks for all your input on this, and we look forward to speaking to you soon about with our second half of the 2025 season recap. Until then, we'll see y'all next time.